This happened when my friend Daniel was 27. It was a few years before he got married, back when he used to disappear for days at a time without telling anyone exactly where he was going. Daniel was obsessed with isolation, not the peaceful kind, the real kind. No signal, no people, no noise except nature. He would take these solo trips deep into national forests, usually staying far away from marked trails. Said it helped him reset. I always thought it was a little extreme. After this, he never went alone again. This particular trip was somewhere in northern Montana. He had been hiking for 2 days straight, heading toward an old, abandoned firewatch route he'd found on an outdated map. According to him, everything felt normal at first. Too normal. No animals, no birds, no insects, just silence. He said it didn't hit him right away how wrong that was. By late afternoon, the weather turned. Fast. Dark clouds rolled in like a wall, and within minutes, the temperature dropped hard. The wind started cutting through the trees, bending them just enough to make that constant creaking sound. Then the rain came. Not a drizzle, a downpour. Daniel said he could barely see 10 feet ahead of him. That's when he saw the structure. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light, shapes in the trees. But as lightning flashed, it became clear. A cabin, small, raised slightly off the ground like an old firewatch outpost. He didn't hesitate. He ran straight toward it. The door wasn't locked. Inside it was dry, but wrong. There was a chair in the center of the room. Facing the door, nothing else was positioned normally. A mattress sat upright against the wall, not on the floor. Empty cans were stacked in neat lines along the corners, like someone had been organizing trash. And then there was the smell, rotten, mixed with something chemical. Daniel said he tried to ignore it at first. He was soaked, freezing, and exhausted. He just needed shelter. So he shut the door and sat down on the floor. Minutes passed. Then he started noticing things. Scratches on the floor, deep ones, all leading toward the door, like something had been dragged over and over and over again. That's when he checked the door more carefully. There was a locking mechanism, but it was only functional from the outside. Same with the windows, nailed shut, not boarded up, nailed from the outside. That uneasy feeling started creeping in. But the storm outside was violent. Leaving didn't feel like an option, so he stayed. He said about an hour passed before he heard it. Footsteps, outside, slow, heavy, circling the cabin, not rushing, not searching, just walking, like whoever it was already knew he was inside. Daniel didn't move, didn't breathe. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then came a soft knock, 3 times. Not loud, not aggressive, just enough to be heard through the storm. He didn't respond. Then something slid under the door, a piece of paper. Daniel said his hands were shaking as he picked it up. There was only one sentence written on it. Stay inside, it's safer. That didn't make him feel better, at all. Minutes passed. Then came another sound, metal, clicking, right outside the door. That's when it hit him. If the lock was outside, then whoever was out there could seal him in whenever they wanted. That was enough. He grabbed his bag and moved toward the door. Slowly, carefully. And then, a voice. Right outside, calm, almost friendly. You shouldn't leave. Daniel didn't think. He just ran. He threw the door open and bolted into the storm. Behind him, he heard the door slam shut again. Not from the wind, from someone else. He didn't look back, didn't stop, didn't care where he was going. He just ran until he collapsed somewhere in the trees. He stayed hidden until morning. When he finally made it back to the trail, there was no sign of the cabin, no path, no clearing, nothing, like it had never been there at all. I wasn't alone for this one. There were 3 of us, me, Ryan, and Luis. This was supposed to be a simple overnight camping trip in Oregon. Nothing extreme, just a marked trail, a campsite, and a night in the woods. We weren't amateurs. We'd done trips like this before. But this one, something felt off from the start. It began with the whistling. At first, we thought it was just wind moving through the trees, a high-pitched, uneven sound, but it didn't stop. Even when the wind died down, it kept going. Same pitch, same rhythm, like someone repeating the same short tune over and over again. Luis joked that it sounded like someone trying to get a dog's attention. We laughed it off, kept hiking, but the deeper we went, the quieter everything else became. No birds, no insects, just that whistling, following us. By the time we reached the campsite, it was already getting dark. We set up quickly. None of us said it out loud, but we were all hearing it. Still, that same whistle, somewhere in the trees. Too consistent to be natural. That night, we sat around the fire trying to ignore it. Ryan finally called it out. Okay, which one of you is doing that? No one answered, because none of us were. And that's when it stopped, completely. Silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. Then, a response, from deeper in the woods. The same whistle, but slightly off, like something was trying to copy it and getting it wrong. Luis stood up immediately, said we needed to leave, right then, at night, which made no sense. But the fear in his voice, that was real. We didn't argue. We packed fast, left the fire burning, didn't even care. As we got back onto the trail, we heard movement behind us, matching our pace, step for step, not rushing, not hiding, just following. Then the whistling started again, closer now, too close. And then, from ahead of us, the same sound, perfectly matching the one behind, like we were being bracketed. That's when Ryan broke. He turned around and yelled into the trees. Stop! The forest went silent for maybe 2 seconds. Then right behind him, something whistled, loud, right next to his ear. Ryan dropped to the ground screaming. We didn't see anything, but something had been right there, close enough to touch him. We grabbed him and ran. No plan, no direction, just away. Branches were snapping all around us now. Movement in the dark, fast, too fast. Like whatever it was wasn't limited to the ground. We didn't stop running until we saw headlights, a road. We made it out, all 3 of us. But Ryan, he wasn't the same after that. He swore something leaned in and whispered right before it whistled. He said it tried to say his name, but it couldn't, not quite, like it didn't know how. We never went back to those woods, and none of us ever heard that sound again. But sometimes, late at night, I still catch myself listening for it.